So we are going to be sharing some information and resources with you guys this morning. We ask if you can put your questions in the chat box and we'll be happy to get with them. We're probably going to ask some input from you guys. So feel free to use that chat box, and then at the end we'll open it up to be able to ask questions and other resourcing. But we want this to be interactive and open, and so if you have ideas, if you have questions, feel free to put them in that chat box at any moment. So we are talking this morning about how to get our kids to eat and to eat well. So I'm going to end our poll here. So when we're looking at the food we eat, we use our Choose My Plate. If you are not familiar with My Plate, it's a great resource from the USDA. It is kind of the gold standard for eating and how we really can look at the foods that we're eating in our meals to have a good balance of all the different nutrients that our bodies need. So when we're thinking about putting meals together or feeding our kids especially, or even feeding ourselves, the My Plate gives us a nice gold standard of getting fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and low-fat dairy, trying to get those in every meal. And of course, that's again the gold standard of eating. So when we look at that, we can use that as a model to help us to think about how we're going to feed our kiddos. And Lacey is going to share some more information with us.
Let me get unmuted first. So today I'm going to talk about the division of responsibility. This is from Ellen Satter. She is a registered dietitian and an expert on children's nutrition. And I want to say this isn't a diet, this isn't restrictions, this is just an approach on how to feed your kids. It sets boundaries, and it's supposed to make mealtime more peaceful and to not have all that fighting that happens at some dinner tables. So the idea around this method is that children decide how much of what they eat and whether they eat, and the adults decide what, when, and where. And so this method works for picky eaters, but it also works for those who, children who graze all day, or if you're concerned that your child isn't eating enough, or even if they're eating too much, worried that your child is sneaking food, if you as a parent are just stressed out at meal times, this approach helps lessen that stress and takes the thought out of how you're handling dinner times. So what does this look like? For parents, this means you choose what food to serve and prepare. You're not asking everybody what they want for dinner. You're not fixing two different meals. You're fixing one meal with the consideration of what your child likes. For an example, if I am serving salmon and it's a food we just don't fix a whole lot. So if I'm serving salmon, I will pair it with mac and cheese, because I know my kids love mac and cheese, with some vegetables as well. But even though they may not like salmon, they're not getting an extra peanut butter and jelly, or I'm not throwing chicken nuggets in the air fryer. We're all eating that same meal. The second piece to that is we are sticking to regular meals and snacks that are predictable and at appropriate times. So we have 3 meals, 2 snacks daily, and we sit at the kitchen table for those. Even if you're not sitting at the kitchen table, if you have TV trays and you're sitting in the living room because that's what's available to you, that's okay, as long as you're sitting together and limited distractions. Role modeling is really big with this method. As an adult, you need to show how to behave at the dinner table. yes, please, no, thank you. Just having those manners, showing your kids what manners look like, and they will model that. And I will say this does not happen overnight. This takes time and consistent repetition, but over time, your kids will say, oh, this is how we acted at the dinner table. This is what food mom and dad, grandma or grandpa, aunt or uncle, whoever that person is serving the meals, that's how they act. This is how we eat. I'm going to model that behavior. Another piece to this is understanding that children have natural likes and dislikes, just like you and I do. And that is a real thing, that our bitter receptors, especially for vegetables, are different on everybody. Some people have very strong bitter receptors, while other people don't taste bitter at all. So understanding that natural likes and dislikes do occur. And what does this look like for the kids? They are free to choose how much of that food that they eat on their table. They're free to be done eating when they feel like they're full, and that we have to learn to accept, and they have to learn to accept that they need to wait till that next meal or snack to eat anything. And so if you have a kid that's grazing all day, this might be extremely hard for you to implement at first, but know that they will learn, okay, we eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, 2 snacks, and I'm not going to eat besides those times. So a few of the questions that wrap around this thought of the division of responsibility is, what if my child doesn't want the food I'm serving? And a phrase that we like to use is, not every meal will be your favorite, but you can still eat it. So recognizing that, that I get that it's not your favorite meal, but you can still eat it. It's not forcing them to eat, but it's just reminding the kids that, yes, we do have favorite foods, and mommy does fix those sometimes, but today's not that day. What if my child only wants one of the foods I've served? So we have, and this is where I will say personally, I steer a little away from this method. The method says that they get to decide what foods they eat. So that may be that they don't eat any vegetables, that if we're still using that salmon and mac and cheese example, that they say, I don't want salmon, I don't want that broccoli, I only want mac and cheese. This method says that they have the responsibility to do that. But again, this is we're just real talk. In my house, we do have where they have to take a bite of everything. They don't have to eat all the broccoli, they don't have to eat all the salmon, but they do at least have to try it. Our brain, it takes 10 to 15 times for a food to even be recognized by the brain. So if you're not trying it, you'll never learn how to like it. So we always have that 1-2 bite rule. Just taste it. You don't have to eat all of it. If you do have the grazers at your house, they'll say, and right now we're all home with our kids. So I know I have heard it a lot in my house, but we're hungry right after they eat, even just saying that they're hungry all the time. But just like adults eat when we're not hungry, the same way, maybe they're bored, tired, or just wanting your attention if you're doing something else. So it's really important to have those structured snack times. And maybe the snacks are a little bit bigger than what you're currently giving them if they're just grazing. But to fully say, I hear that you're hungry. I understand that. Dinner is almost ready. Snack will be on the table in 20 minutes. So to hear that they're hungry, but then to also go back to, here's our regular schedule. You're going to have to wait for this meal or this snack. And setting those boundaries will really help lessen your stress and and lessen the fights that happen at the dinner table. So you letting go of making sure that everyone eats everything on their plate, of everyone just tries it, you don't have to eat it, but you're not getting another meal until this time. And over time, kids will learn, this is when I eat. We eat at a dinner table, we eat as a family, and really watching mom and dad, how they eat. Yeah, so Megan, do we want to go on to the next, or did I have any questions?
There's a good question from one of our participants about social events like birthdays, holidays. What is the recommendation for that?
So you still follow those, they get to decide what's on their plate. They get to decide how much they eat. It may look different on those days. Maybe there's an appetizer beforehand that's usually not there at a normal Thursday dinner. And that's okay. That's just going to be included as part of that meal time.
Great. Keep those questions coming. And also let us know in the chat box, what is the biggest thing you're having difficulty with your kids? What is it, the type of food? Is it the grazing? Let us know what those issues are that you're having. So Lacey talked about family meal times, and we have some great resources, and I will share all of these resources with you guys, but I'm just going to show you really quickly some of these. So the University of Nebraska-Lincoln has this great publication that's very quick and easy to read on family meal times. And Lacey touched on a lot of these, but really family meal time helps us in a lot of ways with our kids. And it helps, kids are very, very routine based. Kids love routine, they love structure. So family meal time helps us to have that. And so I know when I grew up, we sat as a family at a dinner table every night. And that's what my vision of family meal time was. Now that I have a little one, we don't always do that. We don't have a big, beautiful dinner table to sit down at. But I do make it a point to try to sit down together and eat together. So family meal time does not have to be sitting at a dinner table. It's great to do that if you have that option, but don't hold yourself to that. And so this publication has a lot of different ideas and different tips for why mealtime is important as a family, and then how to enjoy them. So having the times, don't make it fancy. Have fancy meal times is great, but it doesn't have to be every time. And so it talks about some of those challenges and how to help with some of those challenges as well. And again, we'll share all of these with you guys as we go through this. So something else to help our kids, encourage them to maybe try new foods that they're not interested in or are a little worrisome of. We are very visually based. So sometimes we aren't even willing to try a food because it looks weird. And we as adults are like that sometimes, and especially our kids are like that as well. Or if anything's like my 2-year-old, if she sees something on TV, she wants to try it. They talk about cupcakes. Oh, I want cupcakes. So one way to do it is to read books with your kids. So this again is a great way to bond with your kids. But we love this book called The 2-Bite Club. And I'll show you what it looks like. You can get a printed version. You can find it online as well. And I'm not going to read the story to you guys, but I want to show you guys what it looks like. Of course, it's from the USDA, choosemyplate.gov. But it's a nice little story about these little animals who are a little girl and her brother. And so the mom helps them try, and it makes it a game. So it's, let's try something from each food group. She lets them choose what they want to pick from that food group. So it's teaching kids about foods. It's teaching them choice of, oh, that looks really interesting to try. And so they go through, and she's not so sure, but she tries 2 bites and decides that she likes things. So it's a really sweet little story that helps kids see that importance as well. and maybe gives you some tips as a parent to help encourage your kids to try something new. So another idea is to, like Lacey said, think about what your kids do like. We don't want to always be making them try foods or eat things that they aren't crazy about. And we, of course, we all have preferences. We all have foods that we aren't crazy about, or foods that we do like more than others, or even food groups more than others. But providing them opportunity to try, if for whatever reason they aren't crazy about it one time, give it to them again and introduce it to them another way, or at another time, because some days we're just not in the mood to eat something, and other days we might be willing to try it that day. Something else is preparing it in different ways. So some people aren't crazy about celery because it can be a little bit stringy, the texture of it when it's raw, but when you cook it down or cook it into different things, it has a whole different texture. It incorporates lots of flavors, and it's an easy way to try those foods in different ways. So that's another tip, to try to cook it in different ways or introduce it in different ways with your kids to get those going.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, Megan. We, even as a dietitian, if you add butter and salt or sweet potatoes, brown sugar and cinnamon to get your kids to like it, that's okay. Like, it doesn't take away the nutrients. So don't think that you have to go all raw or, only do some steamed vegetables. Roasted vegetables bring out a whole new flavor of broccoli than steamed, than raw. So experiment cooking, and you never know, you might find like, oh, my daughter loves roasted broccoli because it brings out a whole new flavor. So try with those different techniques. And don't be afraid of a little salt and a little butter or oil. It's all part of that learning process. We have some questions. Do we want to go to those, Megan?
Absolutely.
And so one of the questions is, my kids pick out on desserts when we are not home because our home desserts are fruit. And that's okay because we're not restricting. So if they're at a party or grandparents' house and there's cake and they don't want to eat their meal, then they'll have cake for that meal, and then you wait till that next snack or meal to eat again. And so in kids, it just takes a little longer to learn that these are our scheduled meals and snack times, but they do learn over time. Again, it doesn't happen overnight, but they'll learn that, I eat at 2:00, I eat at 6:00, and I'm going to have to make sure my 2-3 o'clock snack holds me over till 6. My kids want to eat all day, so we've got some grazers on here, and they eat the same thing for every meal. So kind of what Megan said, of just having their favorites paired with something new. And that 2-bite rule, that bite of, they don't have to finish their meal, but this is what's being served. And if you don't want it, then your next meal will be at this time. And it's completely okay to say that this is what we're eating for lunch. I understand you don't like it, or you're only eating this. So we'll eat again at 6:00. We'll eat again. And 2-year-olds may not understand that, but 9-year-olds will.
Yes, and there was a question about just avoiding trying new foods altogether. And, as a 2-year-old, and I have a 2-year-old, it can be a little scary. They're still figuring out what food is. They're still learning foods and textures and tastes. So it is sometimes a little bit scary to think about, okay, well, what if I don't like it? So a way to try is to make it into a game, and involving kids as much as possible in the kitchen as early as possible will help as well. When you can take them shopping, it helps also to take them through a grocery store so they can see what fruits and vegetables and foods look like. Um, because that takes on a difference too. You know, they have beautiful displays in grocery stores. So that might help kids to say, oh, that looks really pretty, or that looks interesting, and use those kinds of words of, hey, that looks really delicious, or hey, this looks really crunchy and juicy, instead of words like, this is healthy for you, because that doesn't have a whole lot of meaning for kids. But when we talk about smell this, look how pretty it is, how colorful, that gets kids possibly interested in those things. Some other ideas, like I said, making it into a bit of a game. Start small. You know, you don't want your whole meal to be new for a kid, but being a role model too. So, what are you doing? What are your food habits? Maybe taking a little bit of a look at what kind of foods are you eating in front of your kids? What kind of things are you saying about food with your kids and around your kids? And so keep trying it, make it a game. We have on this, again, we'll share all of these with you guys, but make it a fun, hey, I tried something new today. This was really exciting. And know that it's okay that we don't like all the foods that we try. So let kids know that, you know, yeah, it's okay. You know, I don't like all kinds of foods either. Let's try that again a different way another day, or, you know, something like that, so that they get the idea that they can try food. They don't have to like it, and that's okay, but we keep trying foods until, so that we can experience lots of new things, because we might be missing out on something that we really like. So those are great questions, and very real issues that we all deal with, I think, as parents. I think a big thing too is to give yourself a little bit of a break. You know, Lacey, I'm going to let you give your beautiful quote we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that's part of the division of responsibility is, you know, that they may not eat half a cup of vegetables or, you know, 2/3 of a cup of fruit, and that is okay. Feeding your children right now is the most important thing. So no matter what they're eating, it is better than not eating at all. So give yourself some grace in that instance of knowing that you're feeding your child, and they may not eat the broccoli or the spinach or the side salad that you are fixing and you're eating, and that's okay. Give yourself some grace, and because that's the most important thing. They may not like it day one, but you role modeling and you not saying they didn't like spinach, I'm never giving it to them again. You got to keep introducing it, keep being like, okay, we're gonna, I know you didn't like it last time, but you may like it today, just one try. And keep introducing it, and you know, they may be like, yep, still don't like it. And explain to them that there was some foods that when you were a child that you didn't like, but now you've learned to like. Most of us have those foods in our head of, whenever I was a child, I did not like this, but now I enjoy it. So being real with them, explaining to them that your taste buds change over time, and they also develop for the foods that we try.
And so, especially if we have kids that are a little older, that have been used to eating certain textures or certain flavors for a long time, then it's harder for them for their brain to actually physically adjust. Our brains are trained to enjoy, or and our taste buds are changing, but our brain is also programmed. So when we have picky eaters that really like one kind of food, it is actually difficult for them to make a transition to try lots of new different textures. So as a parent, that's really difficult, but keep introducing, keep trying, make small changes. So if you've got big pizza eaters, you know, pizza's okay when you put good ingredients on it. Pizza's not the enemy. But a, you know, triple cheese, super thick crust pizza may not be the greatest choice. But if you can take a pizza and have them put some vegetables on it, that introduces them to some of those different textures. And then over time, you can transition them. Oh, you remember when you had that pizza that had those really great peppers on it? Let's try peppers here. So that they can kind of make that transition and allow their brain to slowly transition that as well. It's like if we're trying to kick a sugar habit, it takes a long time for our brain to taste things differently. So do it slowly. Don't just say, well, we're not eating that ever again, or we have to completely change our diets tomorrow. Give it some time. Yeah, so I'm going to show you guys another website. And again, we will provide you guys, I'm going to put all these links and all these files in the chat box toward the end of this. But this is our Purdue Nutrition Education Program website called Eat, Gather, Go. It has really great tips, but it also has good recipes because we're always looking for fun recipes. And that can be a great way to think about foods a little differently. So thinking about how we're preparing foods, ways to incorporate fruits and vegetables more into our meals. We are not huge advocates for hiding vegetables. I'm a big advocate of like adding vegetables into our spaghetti sauce. It's not really hidden, but it's not openly there. But sometimes that can help our kiddos to try those new foods. But this website gives you tips on ways to, again, cook things differently, adding vegetables in ways. So I'm going to tell you guys a quick anecdote of, I do have a very, very picky eater who comes and visits to our house. And I had bought whole wheat pancake mix and was a little bit nervous about making the pancakes with this whole grain pancake mix. And the kids actually said they preferred the whole grain pancake mix over the regular pancake mix. They said it had a better texture and flavor to the pancakes. So if you're looking at adding those whole grains, do it slowly. So, you know, quinoa especially is a really great grain. Some people don't like the texture of it. So put the quinoa with some rice. And so you can get the benefits of the quinoa, or even mixing half and half with some of your whole grains, and things like that to slowly incorporate those healthier options, the more fruits and vegetables into that diet without completely changing all of that. Lacey, do you have things to add from your life stories?
Yeah, no, seeing someone said that the first bite's the hardest, that it's always a fight up until that first bite. And then they're like, oh yeah, this isn't so bad. And I will say the division of responsibility and those structured meal times really do help eliminate those fights and that stressfulness of just saying, this is what's served today. I really want you to eat. I hope you eat. And but if you don't, this is when you're going to get your next meal. And, you know, it may be a bad day, like that first one, because I'll be like, all right, mom, gotcha. I won't eat it. But then sticking to your guns and being like, all right, well, you're going to have to wait till our next snack, or maybe even the next day. And that's okay. They're truly not going to starve. They're learning that this is how we eat when we eat. And it's teaching them manners at the table. I mean, we have a rule at our house of we don't say yuck. Like that's disrespectful to the cook. And even though I am far from a chef, and it's probably yucky sometimes, we don't say it. If you don't like it, you don't have to eat all of it. But the rule is you don't say yuck. Just having those manners. And I also hope that if my kids ever go sleep at a friend's house and have a slumber party and they don't like something that their parents cooking, I hope they don't say yuck to their mom's friends. Like, oh, I would be so embarrassed. So just trying to instill those manners at our own dinner table that will hopefully carry over for life.
Absolutely.
So,
And we have a question about having fruit as a dessert, which is a great option for dessert. And waiting until after the meal is finished to eat it. So I have found with my little one that if I provide her with a roll or even fruit at first, that's all she'll eat. So sometimes knowing that and offering those other foods first, and then maybe not even necessarily using the word dessert or treat. It's not great to associate sweet foods as rewards. Sometimes that gives that wrong impression to kids again that, well, I shouldn't like the food I'm eating here because I'm supposed to only like these sweet things because that's what I'm getting for reward. So making it just part of the meal that we're going to eat this. And then after we finish this part, then we are going to have our fruit. I do that quite a bit with the fruit and things because I know that she'll eat the other things first if we do it that way. So some of it is your phrasing, it's a lot about phrasing. It's a lot about your modeling of things. But I mean, Lacey, if you have a different thought, but I like that idea. Great questions, everybody. We have
if anybody wants, oh yeah, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, if anybody wants to unmute themselves and actually speak, you are welcome to. And I will say the veggie tots, my kids love the corn ones. Like those, they loved those.
When it comes to processed foods, are there specific brands to go towards or steer away from? Because we know everything is promoted to kids as a quote unquote healthy food, but may or may not actually be.
So with this, I would say processed is, we want to limit it. There's certain things we want to look at, like trans fat or high fructose corn syrup, but we also, it's okay that that we serve some processed food. It's just the life we live in. And to say like that no processed food is realistic just wouldn't be possible. So just looking for those things like high fructose corn syrup, trans fat, just limiting those would be the main ones I would look for. And this just shows the truth. So my daughter here has kitty makeup on, and she just came to tell me that she's hungry. So real life going on.
Yes, Lacey and I are both parents and very real parents. So we all have our own struggles as well. And, we're trying to share some real practical tips with you guys. I am going to post up we do have a short evaluation at the end of our talk today. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up. I'm also putting up a link, or I put some links and some handouts in the chat box for you guys to download and check out. But I also want to share Lacey and I's contact information with you. If you have any questions after today, please feel free to reach out to us. If you need more resources, we're happy to share those with you. We do have a short evaluation. We would love it if you could complete that for us. It helps us with programming. It is anonymous. We have two options. Hopefully this shortened link will work better than the link for the Zoom call today. But we would love it. We would love your feedback. You can do it either via online through that link, or you can also have it texted have the evaluation link texted to your phone as well. So we have those two options for you. Okay, Kristen, I'm going to ask you to clarify your question. Do we do programs for children or for children in schools? Is that what you're asking? Okay. Yes, so Purdue Extension is a great resource for a variety of different topics. So we do everything with parenting to nutrition, and we provide programming for youth as well as for adults. So when school's back in session, we have our nutrition education program assistants in Vanderburgh County who do a great job of going into schools. And we also have an awesome program assistant who does a lot of nutrition programming in schools as well. So contact me if you know a school that would be interested, or even if you have a group who might be interested in programming. We are recording our session today and are happy to share that. Or if you have a group that you know really would like a topic like this or something similar, reach out and we're happy to work with you to do what we can to help spread the word and spread some education.
Thanks, Megan. I'm going to answer Kelsey's question. She sent it just saying that the 7-year-old doesn't like something, and then the 3 and 4-year-old will follow suit. And in this situation, I would talk to the 7-year-old, say, listen, like, your brother or sister really look up to you, and even if you don't like something, we're not going to say yuck today, and see if that works. But pull her aside, talk to her about how she is the leader of, and maybe that will give her some, pride, and that you are counting on her to not say yuck or ooh, even if she doesn't like it, and she has the right to those feelings. But that we're going to work on our manners and phrase it like that. So.
What other great ideas or questions might you guys have for us? Oh, I do want to add too. So we might be able to provide vouchers for Little Lambs. So if you are a client of Little Lambs or are interested in learning more about it, it's a resource in Vanderburgh County that supports moms, has baby basic supplies, everything you can think of available. So we might be able to provide you a voucher. So send me an email if you are interested in that. And then Lacey, are we able to do the credit for Nourish?
So I just want to let everyone know, if you go to nourish.com, it is a bulk buying food club. And right now we're still piloting, but I just wanted to let everyone know within the next few weeks, depending on how things reopen and what food access looks like for Evansville, we may expand. So if you visit, I'll put it in the chat box here.
So thank you all for attending this morning. I hope we were able to maybe ease some anxieties a little bit about your feeding, and maybe give you some tips and resources to help you with your picky eaters. Lacey and I will stay on for a little bit. If you have any other questions, have a wonderful rest of your day. Look out for other ideas, and even in the chat box, if you want to give us some other topics that you think would be great for us to do some lessons on virtually, send them our way. We'd love to hear what you guys are interested in. Spread the word to your friends. let them know we're here. So have a great day. Thanks, everybody. Okay, thanks again. We're going to go ahead and end the call. Have a great day.